Alright boys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but we posted on the main channel. Pretty cool video. I'll talk to you guys a little bit about it at the end, but right now we're here because the Ter Stegen stuff is going on again. And I'm not going to say I'm going to be honest, it's not surprising, right? We've seen a lot of talk about it all year. I started the entire season with a video that kind of went low-key a little crazy, getting like 250,000 views in like 3 days about Ter Stegen and how he is so hated and everything. And being as he's now healthy and able to play, the conversation is now, can we replace him? Is he still going to be the number one? What's going on? And general sentiment among fans, I would say at least the loud majority or loud minority, just loud people online, is very much so like anti-Ter Stegen, with it going so far as to say it's going viral online, being one of the most discussed topics on the internet. Hashtag Ter Stegen out is going global. And that's, first of all, that's wild. That's wild that like an anti-player campaign is that big, especially considering his history with the club. Like I'm not going to really defend him. I think he's been good. I think he also is very not perfect or not ideal. I also do think the goalkeeping position is one it's kind of hard. The stats don't necessarily prove everything, and I don't know. It's easy to scapegoat a keeper. You see that a lot, and I think opinions on keepers are greatly affected by the performance of teams in a way that I think, goalkeepers won't be remembered unless their team plays wonderfully, right? It goes back to legacy of all the great Man United keepers that are talked about so much, and Czech for his time for Chelsea and Arsenal. These keepers get known for better things when the team does better, like Victor Valdez and everything. Ter Stegen has been in a period of Barcelona that has been terrible, and I don't think he's totally innocent, right? I do think the statue stuff, the way, like, I see videos of going viral of guys just standing up on chairs and going like that, like, not gonna lie, brother, it's a pretty convincing argument, and I get what they're doing, and it makes sense. I also feel bad for Ter Stegen because I don't think he's a terrible keeper by any means, but I think there comes a time when you need to call for change, and it's been about that time for several years now. Now, I know he did play pretty well in the 22-23 season, had good numbers. I also think the defensive line was incredible, and I do think the team got lucky that opponents hit the bar a lot, and I just think it kind of the ball fell Barcelona's way in a way it hasn't for a very long time, right? But again, Barcelona wasn't good for a while. That, I think, has been remembered with Ter Stegen, and led to where we are now, right? I'll show you what's going on online, though. It's pretty, I'm going to say unsurprising, because obviously the team did, I'm going to say, pretty well this season without Marc-Andre Ter Stegen for the first time in, years, right? So here's Rashad Rahman talking about how being reported by Sport, and I don't think Marca has talked about it yet, or Marca has talked about it yet, but yeah, some major news outlets are talking about the hashtag Ter Stegen out. Quote, you see that right here, hashtag Ter Stegen out, talking about the Joan Garcia move, which is, what we're going to get to in a minute, but that's what they're talking a lot about. Barcelona fans are calling for Joan Garcia like crazy, and he is basically, for those of you guys that have, been living under a rock or just don't necessarily follow Twitter like a 14-year-old, that has nothing to do like I do. He played for Espanyol this season, which is Barcelona's biggest, competitors. Their ultras fight with the boisterous noise all the time. And if he were to join Barcelona, it's kind of like a betrayal. It happens more often than not with smaller teams like this. And, there's some history of, younger players going from academy to academy and it not being as deep then. But obviously he kind of saved Espanyol from relegation this season, was really good in goal, has some of the best stats of any goalkeeper in the world, or especially in La Liga this season. And he can play well with his feet and everything. So he's an exciting young Spanish goalkeeper, Catalan goalkeeper that Barcelona fans want. And clearly Barcelona are looking at him. They're trying to sign him. The discussion now here by Rashad is that from Espanyol's side, they're saying he's going to Newcastle. And from Barcelona's side, everyone's saying they still have a chance. From the players, they're saying a little bit of both. I've heard discussions that it's the decision's more or less done. I've also seen that I think he's leaning more towards Barca. I've seen a lot of people reading into the stuff about, you know, him playing for the Catalan national team and playing in the Estadi Johan Cruyff where the women play. I think that's where they played. It's actually a really cute stadium over there. It's pretty nice. It's right by the training grounds in, I guess, northwestern Spain or Barcelona. But that's besides the point here. It all comes around that it doesn't really or it's not possible if Ter Stegen stays, because Szczesny has reportedly re-signed his contract for another year, which means that we have a backup in theory, I think. So Ter Stegen is also putting his foot down now. There has been some talk that Rashad doesn't seem to be saying anything about it yet, but Ter Stegen it seems like Ter Stegen has kind of leaked saying he's not going anywhere, or that his team has leaked that, and so it would be difficult for Barcelona to make any move, and it seems like he's trying to put his foot down and say that and not let anything happen. Obviously, he's signed, he has a contract with the club, but also, then again, Barcelona have a little bit of a leg up because he's going to want to be the number one for Germany at the 2026 World Cup in the US, and he's not going to be able to do that if he doesn't play for his club team, right? If he's not starting most matches for Barcelona or wherever he ends up, if he leaves, he's not going to be able to. Julian Nagelsmann's not going to pick him. He just won't be the number one if he's not playing. And Nagelsmann has come out saying that he is the number one currently, that he's talked to Hansi Flick and seen him play, which was wild because he's played one match in the past, month or something like that. And so, you know, it's not like he's got a ton proven right now, like he's in great form or anything. But the main point here is that the Joan Garcia move won't happen if Ter Stegen doesn't go. And the fans are really pushing for Ter Stegen to leave. It's all, first of all, he's been getting flamed on his Instagram, basically ever since the summer. When I made that video, he's been talked about as very negatively for a while now, as kind of the scapegoat for a lot of fans online. And it's, again, like I said earlier, it's easy to do that, but the amount of hate he's been getting on his Instagram page, I think he disabled comments. It's all over Barcelona's Instagram. If you go to the comments on their posts, it's all hashtag Ter Stegen out. And he has very little support from the fan base. And it's been pretty well known that he has actually had a lot of issues with teammates in the past as well. I think there's a quote always going around about PK saying there were 4 shots and they scored 4 goals. We have to analyze that from 2021, I think, kind of throwing shade at Ter Stegen, or people are reading into that for that reason. Messi obviously got into kind of a big fight with him for some reason. I don't remember. I think I talked about it in my original video on Ter Stegen, but now it's kind of blowing up again, right? And it's just more nonsense, more transfer chaos mess. When, you know, it would be nice to be able to focus on good things. Like I think the Rashford signing would be cool. I like that we're not going after Luis Diaz anymore. Not because I don't think he's good, but because I don't think he's worth 80 million euros by any stretch of the imagination. He's been decent. He's been solid for Liverpool, but you don't spend 80 million on a solid player right now. Right, it just isn't the case. Especially, he's just not 80 million is a lot more right now. Especially when Kvaratskhelia went for less than that. Desiree Doué went for about half of that last summer, and we tried to sign Doué. Apparently, couldn't get that across. And we're just focusing on this nonsense with Ter Stegen again. It's very clear to me. Like I think he has been good before. I think he's been good for the club. I think it's sad that Barcelona has been so bad since. For the longest time, and people are very easy to forget. They were easy to forget with Rakitic. He's a good example of where he was really important for the team for a while, but then when Barcelona suffered, he was a scapegoat for not performing well, and that kind of has happened to Ter Stegen. But I feel like when that happens, Barcelona needs to be better at letting it go, at listening to the fan base a little bit, and seeing that, okay, there's some weight here. Let's try and separate from that. The problem was that Barcelona couldn't really make any moves. They didn't have any money, so they were a little bit of they were just stuck for a second in a way that they're not right now. I do think Ter Stegen's going to go. I think they need to push him out and make him go and kind of separate themselves from that situation, start new, start fresh, give us a new goalkeeper for the first time in 10 years that isn't Cillessen or Neto or Szczesny, who's retired, or Iñaki Peña, who's going to go, and someone with like real potential, like Garcia does. Like if it's not Garcia, if Garcia doesn't sign for Barcelona, I think it's going to be, I think Ter Stegen's going to stay, which kind of sucks. I really, really want Garcia to come to Barcelona. At the very least, fight with Ter Stegen for the #1 spot, or Chesney, whoever ends up staying. I do think if we sign a keeper, though, Ter Stegen's going to leave because he's going to want that #1 spot guaranteed somewhere. And he's still a good keeper. He's not bad in it. He's one of the best on the ball by far. By far. Even when he was poor in the one game we saw him against Villarreal, I think, right? When they had like 4 shots on target and they scored 4. I think he was great with his feet, and I still think he is good. He has a lot of value to a decent team in the top 5 leagues. But Barcelona, it's time to separate from Ter Stegen. I really do think we've been talking about this for too long. It's time to let him go. It's time to move on. And even if it's nothing's perfect, right? I don't think we can find a perfect option there. I do think it's time to move on. So that's what I wanted to get on here and talk about. We're going to talk more about transfers and everything. I'm also going to be live on Big Up for the Champions League final. I know I haven't been live for a while. I missed the last game because I was going to a wedding, not mine. Don't worry, boys. And I'm going to be live more. I'm going to be posting more, but make sure you guys go check out the video on the main channel. It's all about the Boischwitz Noise, which is the ultra group about Barcelona, because from Barcelona, I've seen a lot of talk about them online. They're kind of going viral a lot, and a lot of people don't really understand their history. It's not a perfect history. A lot of stuff got messed up in translation, and I'm sure I missed things out, but it gives you a rough guideline about the wild history of these ultras. So go check it out. I'll have it linked right here, and I'll see all you guys in the next one, or hopefully on Saturday for the Champions League final. Peace, everybody. Thanks for watching. See ya.